Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs Podcast. This is not the show we planned, not the show we were hoping for. We can only promise it will be authentic and real, and then it's going to be back to business. We're talking Cubs. We're talking about Luzardo. We're talking about Zips projections and the Cubs over for 2025. CHGO Cubs coming up next. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs Podcast. It is Thursday, December 19th. We took yesterday off, for those that are wondering. We decided wasn't the right time to do a show. Didn't feel like doing a show. Hope you didn't feel like watching a show yesterday. For those that were watching social media or some of the shows that actually did happen yesterday, obviously, it was a really tough day. Yeah. There's two of us sitting here today, not three of us. And there's a lot of people that have been impacted right before the holiday season. There are friends, there are teammates. A lot of them, if almost all of them, were with us right from the beginning, from day one at CHGO. Do we understand that it's part of this business and industry? Yeah. Been there, done that, right? Like
you certainly have.
I know exactly how they're feeling, and the people that were let go yesterday, it had nothing to do with their performance, their behavior, who they were, how much they were liked. Nobody here had any say in any of it, right? Like right. We found out when they found out. But that is the ugly part of the business, is sometimes people lose jobs that don't deserve to lose jobs. So if you're asking us how we feel about it, we hate it. We're mad. Yeah. Most of us are angry. Some of us are sick over it. Yeah. Ryan was a part of our podcast from day one.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have done anything we did the last 3 years without Ryan's hard work.
I agree.
I can't say I ever, first of all, this is not a funeral for the 7 people that were laid off yesterday, okay? They're all going to go on and do great things.
Absolutely.
And we'll start with Ryan, top of the list. Ryan is going through a tough holiday season. We feel for him. We're going to be there for him. But I know one thing. You haven't heard the last of Ryan Herrera, right? Like he's got a step and a foot into this business in Chicago way sooner than I ever did. And I know he's going to be okay because he's a great writer and he's a hard worker, right? Mm-hmm. Two things that we found out right from the beginning.
Yeah. I think the easiest way to explain what you're saying is Ryan sent us a screenshot of Justin Steele DMing him yesterday.
Yeah.
Saying, sending him best of luck. And I think that says a lot about his ability to create relationships and, be able to be a presence in the Cubs clubhouse as a reporter that has gained respect. And so not only did he gain respect with me and Luke over the last 3 years and everyone else here at CHGO, but he clearly gained respect from Cubs players and probably a lot of the other people who are on the beat too. So I don't know, man. I've been thinking about having to sit here and do this since watching the Bears show yesterday and watching some of the Blackhawks show and the Bulls show as well. This sucks, dude.
Big time.
You've been in this industry a lot longer than me. I've had smaller gigs before I got here, but I never, even when I used to just do social media work before this job, I never was told that we were letting go of 7 or 8 people
Mm-hmm.
in one day at any job that I've ever had. And I'm someone who, and I'll try to use the Cubs as an example here. I'm someone who loves hard, and I'm someone who wears his emotions on his sleeve. And I think a lot of people aren't surprised by that based off how I react to a lot of things and show either whether it's criticism of when guys aren't doing things right, if it's a Cubs player, or if I'm being really celebratory about a Cubs player and their success. I'm the same way with people, you know, the people that I've got to know here the last 3 years, and the people like Ryan that I've worked with for the last 3 years. And, you know, it sucks, dude. And I think if anyone watching or listening right now can relate to this at all, it's just at any job that you have, when you hear that people are being let go and you're close with them, it sucks. I didn't.
The timing sucks too,
right? And of course,
there's no great time, but
right.
holidays are a catch-22. First of all, if you've lost a loved one recently, or you don't have family like other people have family, or someone to lean on, holidays can be as miserable as they are wonderful for some people.
Absolutely.
And this is only going to make it more so for some people.
Yeah. All I know is that I'm going to continue to support him, and I'll send him some texts and all that stuff throughout the year. And, you know, throughout all of this, of course, yesterday he had to text me and tell me that he won the off-season ping pong series. So, you know, even on a day like yesterday, he found a way to get to give someone a laugh. And, you know, as the objective guy here, maybe he didn't always give us the stuff that get people to react on social media, but I thought he brought a lot to our show, more so than just like an objective view. And
Ryan brought the facts, the FACTS.
The actual facts. Yes.
Cody and I bring the FAX. Okay, that's the honest truth.
Yeah,
and there are times where you and I felt like the father, because literally Ryan is young enough to be my child, right? Like, and I'm old enough to be his father. But like at times, you guys would argue back and forth, and I'd have to separate you a little. But it was like brothers.
Yeah.
And it still is. So, and
honestly, that is how I view Ryan. Like I said in my tweet that I sent yesterday, like we disagreed a lot on things related to the Cubs, but I really did look at him as a friend and in a brotherly like way as well, just because, you know, I was telling people in our Discord yesterday that when CHGO came together, when they went out and tried to find the talent, you know, Peck and Big Dave, they did Locked On Bulls before they came here. Hogue and Moriano all knew each other, and Sean and Herb worked together at the Score, and so on. When they put CHGO Cubs together, we didn't know each other, and I didn't know Ryan either.
No,
and
guys didn't know each other at all.
They brought us into an Airbnb in the Fulton Market District and said, "Hey, we want you guys to do this."
Ryan was on a Zoom. Yeah,
and Ryan was on a Zoom at an airport. And I didn't even know I was sitting next to Luke Stuckmeyer for like 3 hours because he had a mask on, because it was like still in like COVID times.
That's right.
So it was like,
and a hood.
Like when we came here and did the rehearsal for the first time back at the end of February going into March of 2022, it was like, okay, guys, like let's figure this out. And I think people who have listened since day one, and I think people who are watching us, I think people would say that we clicked immediately, and I'll never forget that, and I'll always appreciate it. And like I said in my tweet yesterday too, Ryan helped me become a better fan, the way I view things about the Cubs. And a lot of people can use that against me all they want. I don't care. That's if you got the opportunity to do what we do every day, you start to view things differently once you really watch this team the way that we do the last 3 years. So hats off to him, man. I'm wishing him all the best. And this is reality, unfortunately, and I'm wishing him well. And I'll always be a big supporter.
Not just I would encourage everybody that's in the live YouTube chat or listening to this podcast, keep an eye out for Ryan Herrera in the future, and B, send him a note. Shoot him a Twitter saying thanks. If you've enjoyed his work here. Now it's also, I don't want to leave anybody else out. This isn't just Ryan that was impacted. Lawrence Benedetto's been producing our shows all off season long. He was our executive producer, and Law on the Draw was there with on the ones and twos, and was a part of this show.
Yep.
And we're gonna miss Lawrence too, and all the help that he gave us and the guidance he gave us for 3 years from day one. And I know he's been through this before too, because he's been in the industry a long time. And Herb and Vinny and Greg Boyson, you see his message, and all of those guys. Nicholas Moriano, Tom and Sales.
Yep.
I mean, this was a dream job.
Yep.
This was a dream. That's what makes me the most sick about it, is that it was a dream job for all those guys.
Yeah.
But I will say this, I don't think it's the last job for all these guys, and I'm hoping their dream job is actually still to come, right? Like I had a job in San Antonio once where I was working. I thought, man, this is pretty good. I'm at the NBA Finals. I'm having a great time. No idea that I'd ever get back to Chicago. So did I ever envision that was the dream? But I never expected it to happen. So I'm hoping that something they're not expecting is on the horizon for them. And I've seen, in the chat and on Twitter, people saying, I can't support CHGO anymore. Can't do it. I understand that if that's the way you feel. Yeah. Just know that everybody that's left here had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And
we all found out like when you did.
If you feel like there's nothing left to listen to or nothing left to read or be a part of, we hope to rebuild that trust and rebuild that vibe that was here and that we still think we have.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep doing the shows, and it's not going to be the same without Ryan. It's not going to be the same without Law. It's not going to be the same, any of those shows without all those guys, but we hope to rebuild what we had.
Yeah.
And that's all we could promise you. So yes, I know there's people in the chat that don't want to even talk about this. I would say to this, too bad.
Yeah.
Because it's our podcast, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
I'm actually surprised.
That's why we didn't do a show yesterday.
I am surprised there are some saying that they don't want to talk about it, considering the social media backlash that we've been getting. But
some are just coming to talk baseball.
And that's fair.
And I get that. They may not even have a personal connection, but we're the people on the show, and we did have a personal connection, and they were part of the show.
Yeah. I just, I know we have to take a break here in a few minutes. Herb lives in the same neighborhood as I do, and he covered the White Sox, but he's such a genuinely nice dude, and I really enjoy getting to know him the last 3 years. The one thing that outside of Chicago sports, that outside of baseball at least, that we were able to really connect on was Illinois athletics, football, basketball, and I really enjoyed talking to him just about literally anything. Nicholas Moriano.
They're all great. That's the thing that hurts. I think that's why people are really broken up about it. Yeah. Sometimes you see layoffs happen, you're like, man, I'm glad that person's out.
Right.
That is not the case with anybody that was laid off. Like, all of these hurt.
Right. Nicholas Moriano, they sent us to Vegas last year for an event with Circa, and me and him became really close, and I was going through a really tough time at that time, and he was a genuine friend to me when we had to go out there, and I felt like we became better friends then. Greg Boyson, I know that
he's a great person.
He's such a great person, and he was someone that I feel like we were somewhat similar into our path to getting here, just grinding away, and then he finally gets an opportunity. And then Vinny as well, he's just similar to your path, kind of been all over the place, and I expect him to really bounce back, but no one knows music more than he does.
Yeah, he's the music man.
Yeah. So
For a while, I thought he
There's
was.
so many things I could say.
I swore that he was actually an Elvis impersonator, but I've been told that story's not true. Worked with Vinny back at NBC Sports Chicago, and I know he's going to do great things. And whoever gets to scoop up these people, that's the one thing is, like I told Ryan this yesterday, I said, they're on the market. Somebody's going to get lucky. Somebody's going to get lucky and get a great addition. And we're going to talk more about them for a second, and we're going to talk Cubs baseball, including the Zips projections in a second. But we do want to tell you about some of our sponsors because they help pay the bills, and we appreciate them as well. We are sponsored by Chicago Sports Network, the new home of the Blackhawks, Bulls, and White Sox games. CHSN will broadcast more than 300 live games per year across the Blackhawks, Bulls, White Sox, and will feature a full lineup of original Chicago-focused sports content. They're also Chicago-based, Chicago-built, and Chicago to the core, and they're bringing it to every corner of Chicago across our 77 neighborhoods and beyond. At CHSN, Chicago comes first. Visit chsn.com for more info on how to watch the Bulls, the Blackhawks, and White Sox games all season long.
I don't know if you had more blue moons than me yesterday, Luke.
Probably not, but that's tough to do.
Yeah, I definitely needed some blue moons yesterday. Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. Blue Moon isn't just another beer. It's a whole different experience. Why strike out with the same old beer when you can get something one of a kind? A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon. But you can enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Yes, thanks to everybody that's saying nice things in the live YouTube chat. If you're not saying nice things, I'm just ignoring you. That's okay. Yeah, we've seen some stuff. We still don't know how things will really play out because it was sort of shocking news that just happened yesterday,
right,
in a blink of an eye, and we don't know how. Like, I don't know what's going on with the Sox podcast. Sean has left. They still plan on doing something. I don't know what they're doing. I saw nationally, our CEO said that some of the shows would be 2 to 3 days. As far as Cody and I know, we're here. That hasn't, our schedule has not changed. And yes, Corey and Brendan will be here tomorrow with their normal podcast. Yep. Corey and Brendan will still do their once a week podcast. And they'll be there for that. And so
as far as like when we get in season, and
we don't know.
We don't know right now.
We don't know.
So we'll definitely be updating you guys on that stuff, especially the diehards that are in the Discord. I was in our Discord yesterday and just trying to be there, trying to make understanding with people of like the situation. And I think it helped. I hope it helped. So I hope today, as we do this on the show, I hope people are understanding where we're coming from. And if you don't, then, I guess we lost you a long time ago anyway.
Right. DFW Susie says, I'll continue to support Luke and Cody with my ears and eyes. We appreciate that.
Appreciate that, Susie.
And, I know there were diehards that were mad yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? And I understand why you're mad, especially if you're one of the 800 people that just signed up, 800 plus, that just signed up last month to be a diehard. And the only thing, again, did anybody here have anything to do with this? No. The only thing we can do and have been doing is promising that we'll give you the best we got.
Yep.
Okay? So that diehard membership, we're still going to try and give you as much content as we can. Less people are going to work harder. Is that fair? The way it's going to, that's just the way it's going to be.
Yep.
And so we'll try to be in the Discord. Yes, I will try to be in the Discord more often than I have been. We will try to do as much as we can to pick up the slack for the people that aren't here anymore. Again, I see people asking in the chat. It was Ryan, it was Lawrence, it was Herb, Vinny, Greg Boyson from Blackhawks, Nicholas from the Bears, and Tom from our sales department.
Yeah.
And honestly, there may have been more, but I don't know everything that happened because literally this just happened and we haven't.
Well, there were other people across ALLCITY.
That's right. Oh, well, ALLCITY had layoffs. Yeah. That's what really happened.
Yeah.
Okay. ALLCITY had layoffs. And it doesn't mean it's the end of ALLCITY, and it doesn't mean it's the end of expansion of ALLCITY. It means they're restructuring ALLCITY. Okay.
All right. Shall we talk about the Chicago Cubs?
Should we move on? One last thanks to everybody that was a part of this and will always be a part of this from the ground up. All our teammates, we appreciate them.
The day ones for sure. Y'all
the day ones, yeah, everybody. And Ryan does know how to call in, and so I hope at some point throughout the season next year, Ryan will call in and give us grief. And here's what this means nothing to anybody else, but I will do this right now. Ryan Herrera won Who You Got. You don't know how big that is to Ryan Herrera. I'm going to go ahead and say last year, Ryan Herrera won Who You Got. So there you go.
I'm sure he's watching right now. And
now, he probably wants me to say something about Cody Bellinger on the 24th day, but I will not say that. I won't go that far, Ryan, but I will say he won Who You Got fair and square.
Gosh.
All right, so a lot of these projections are starting to come out now, right?
The things we love to talk about.
Yeah, now I totally wish Ryan was here because I don't even know what zips means.
It's just one of those.
Isn't that a lighter? Isn't a zip a zip lighter?
There's zips, there's steamers, there's Pacoda.
Pacoda projections. Yeah, that's always the one that gets people mad and usually is spot on.
Yeah.
Before we get to zips, let's go to the people that we know are always right on. Vegas. They are on. So Kyle Tucker's now a Cub. Cody Bellinger's now a Yankee. And there's extra money, which we're going to talk about on this show too. How does the addition of Tucker and the subtraction of Bellinger, what does that tell Vegas about where the Cubs are at? Well, the Cubs are plus 3,000 to win the World Series next year. That number's out already. They're minus 140 to make the playoffs. And the Cubs are currently, I don't know if this should give you hope or pause. The Cubs are plus 115 to win the division. They have the best odds of winning. They're the favorite, if you will, to win the division next year, followed by the Brewers at plus 255, the Reds, Cardinals, and then the Pirates. Are you excited about that? Are you excited that Vegas thinks the Cubs are going to win the division?
It's better than Vegas thinking the White Sox have absolutely no shot with like the plus 25,000 odds for them, I guess. Would I bet the Cubs to win the division right now? At those odds, from a gambling perspective, I'd probably wait because it's not worth waiting like until they give you the money at the end. It's not even at the end. I don't even know if they'd give it to you once the season actually ends or if it's after the playoffs. I always forget with these long future bets. But I mean, I guess as a fan, it's encouraging to see that Vegas likes the Cubs, you know.
The over has changed.
The total?
The total
was at 86.5, right?
86.5, up from, actually winning 83 years in a row. So are you telling me that does Vegas think that Kyle Tucker's worth an extra 3.5 wins? That's the math, right?
That's basically it.
Again, I need Ryan to do the math for me.
Minus 140 make the playoffs, 86.5 at the total. Honestly, let's look at. I'm purely looking at this from a gambling standpoint. Are the Cubs done adding to the team?
No.
That means that number could move up. So if you think the Cubs are a playoff team, if you're willing to gamble responsibly on this win total, I think that this is a good number just because the potential of them adding, and if they say Roki comes to the Cubs, say the Cubs trade for a starting pitcher, say Mock Bombs on Twitter knows something and Corbin Burns is for real.
What?
Mock Bombs. It's some random like.
I only trust Katy Perry's booty hole in Wet Butt 23.
Someone sent it to me.
You know.
Someone's told me about it in my TikTok live like 3 days ago, and now I'm just like I'm letting myself dream about it for a little bit. Okay, like the point is if the Cubs continue to add, that total is going to go up. So purely from a gambling standpoint, I think it's a good number to bet the over on, because I don't think the Cubs are done, and that total could rise if they keep adding, which I think realistically we all believe is going to happen. So if you don't think the Cubs are going to be good, this is even gambling advice too. Don't take the under now, because if they keep adding, that number will go up. So if you like the under,
maybe, unless they only add just like, is it also baked into their thinking that, and the Cubs have this money, but what if the Cubs just hold the money?
Sure. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I know. I'm literally speaking from a gambling standpoint.
I just know Vegas knows.
Yeah. I think if you don't think they're going to be any good, I would wait to take the under. I would wait until the offseason is over, because I think that number is going up.
Division should be weaker,
but to win the
Roberto
division,
said,
sure.
Too. Yeah, I mean, the Brewers lost to Damas.
Yeah. They just moved Devin Williams to the Yankees.
I mean, they do that every year, and then they end up at the top, and we're like, well, that shouldn't have happened.
Now, if
86
you want
and a half. Does 87 wins? So the other numbers are predicting that they're going to win the division, right?
Yeah.
The minus 140 to make the playoffs and plus 115 to win the division. That suggests they're going to make the playoffs. Does 87 get you to the playoffs?
In this division, yeah.
I mean, this is what Council's been talking about. He wants 90 to be the number. If you have a 90, 91 win season and you don't get to the playoffs, you had a pretty good season, and I can you're going to be upset with it, but not like you are at 83. Yeah. Like 83 is not getting you to the playoffs very often.
No.
Okay, it's not. But 90, if you consistently win 90 games a year, 87 is just, it falls into that perfect zone of. We'll see. We'll see how it all pulls together.
But again, I think me and you are sitting here pretty confident they're going to add another starting pitcher, and we feel pretty confident that they're going to sign a couple relievers. I do believe in my heart that they will do that, and that will increase that win total. And I think that by opening day, if you want to wait until opening day, I bet that number is going to be like 88.5. Maybe 89 if they get Roki. Or I guess maybe 90 if they get Roki.
90 as I predicted last year, because that's the year I graduated high school.
So I don't know. Plus 3,000 to win the World Series.
I would hold that money.
I would hold that money, because I bet I'm willing to bet that those odds will, if you want to throw a Hail Mary, could be different in a favor of, like, you could get better odds later, just because baseball is a long season and things go up and down. So I would hold off on that, especially since you're going to have to wait literally a year, basically, because they won't pay you out until after the World Series, obviously.
Right. Galvin must have missed it. We just said a few minutes ago, the win total right now is 86.5. That's the updated Vegas number at most books, I believe.
Yeah. So
the ones we frequent.
Yeah.
The ones Cody definitely frequents. And
yes.
By the way, I saw some ridiculous thing roll through the Slack channel talking about Ryan was laid off because of some FanDuel account. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, what?
What?
Where do people come up with this stuff?
Where did that come from?
There were company-wide layoffs yesterday.
Yeah.
And honestly, to put that whole thing to bed, anybody that's sitting here today could be on the other side of it. Could have been me, could have been Cody, could have been Steven, could have been any of us. So the people that are here, do we feel fortunate? Yes, and we also feel horrible for the people that are going through that in the holiday season.
Yeah.
So that's just the reality of it.
I saw Nicholas Moriano is actually in the YouTube chat.
What?
Yeah, he sent a really nice message. I don't know if Steven can find it. There he is. Says, "Hey everyone, obviously this sucks, but please support everyone at CHGO. Amazing people. Wouldn't change my 3 years for anything."
See, that's what I'm talking about. These are great people. Yeah. These are good friends, great people, great teammates. And as he wants you to support us, we want you to support Ryan and Nick and Herb and Vinny and all the people, Lawrence, right on down the list. Support them in whatever they do next, because we will support them in whatever they do next. Talking more Cubs baseball in a second, but first, a word from our sponsors. With Empire Today, you get to shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. Empire Today is the best place to get new flooring, so of course they have copycats, but Empire can't be beaten on quality, service, and speed. So competitors advertise low-quality products that Empire's just not going to carry. Empire's not going to promise you the lowest prices because anybody that's doing that is putting stuff that's flooring in your home that they wouldn't put in their own home. Empire's philosophy is to find out what you need, not overwhelm you with a lot of choices and substitutes. They also have a virtual floor designer. Snap a picture, see how the new floors will look in any room. Shopping for floors at a big box store? Go ahead and do it, but it's risky because you might be talking to the person that was working in plumbing or the garden center the day before. And they also service their own warranties. If an issue does arise, just call Empire. They service them all. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/CHGO for details. Cody, did you know that ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient?
I didn't know that, Luke. ComEd did that.
Yeah, it's important this holiday season. The energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings.
So what are businesses doing?
Well, all you got to do is sign up for that free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
ComEd.com/biz? Is that it?
That's it. See, I think people are forgetting the website. What did you say it was?
ComEd.com/biz.
ComEd.com/biz. ComEd.com/biz. That's it. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customer's energy usage and rate. ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law. Hello to everybody in the live YouTube chat. We appreciate the 39 thumbs up, and we don't care about the 1 thumbs down. We have a super chat, Sir Silent of the Fogs, a regular. Hey, y'all, can't stay for the show because of work, but know us diehards back you 100%. They get rid of you all. We cancel subscriptions. Much love, guys. No, we don't want you to cancel your subscriptions. We want you to support the people that are still here. We hope you support us. And that's what Nicholas was just saying in the live YouTube chat. You know, he's going through a tough time, but he's saying, listen, the people that are here have nothing to do with this. So try not to be mad at us. We're going to try and earn your trust back. We're going to try and make sure you get the most out of your diehard memberships. We're going to keep trying to do what we do, and we hope you guys are part of what we consider a family. That's why yesterday hurts. Family, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. That's why it hurts. I saw, was there another super chat that I missed or not? Oh, it was Jared. Jared Willis says, Chicago's a great baseball city no matter what. Keep showing your support to the Cubs and Sox crews at CHGO. Good things will happen. We hope Jared's going to be around a lot more. You know, this has impacted some part-time freelance people as well. Jared does great work. He's always filled in for both Vinny and for Ryan. And we hope to see him around more too. We hope that that's a possibility, but we don't know any of it.
Yeah.
We just don't know what 2025 holds. What we do know is we will be here, and we hope you will be too. James Colstock says Ryan is a sicko for life. That's right. He'll always be a sicko.
Always be a sicko.
He will always be Lil Rossi too.
Or Lil Counts.
And by the way, I know nobody's thought about this because it's a selfish thing, but this will impact the softball team.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna need some volunteers to be ringers next year because we lost some pretty good softball players too. Absolutely. Herb is on that softball team. Ryan was what, shortstop?
Shortstop or third base. That's where I saw him play. I just came and hung out. That's all I did, basically.
Christian A says Ryan is young, has a bright future ahead of him. Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
And Becky, we appreciate your staying with us. All right, so we were talking about Cubs baseball as well as what happened yesterday. And so the deal goes down, and we've seen that at least Vegas thinks they got maybe 3 games better. Okay, yeah. Fine. I saw our guy Michael Cerami was trying to break down the numbers. This is what they saved in Bellinger. This is where they have to get to avoid. They have to stay under this number to reach that first tier of the luxury tax. And a lot of people are thinking, all right, they probably have 40 to 50 million in there to play with, assuming the Cubs are going to take some money and hold it for, let's see how the season goes, and maybe we'd have to add something, or something might get more expensive, right?
And we can,
let's just say 40 mil.
Right.
Let's just throw a number out, 40 mil.
I would say 40 mil. But I do want to say, like, we can definitely criticize this thinking, and I don't think it's necessarily Jed Hoyer. I think it's ownership. So that's my 2 cents on that. Because why not go over the luxury tax whenever you've traded for one of the best players in baseball?
Yeah, and you got him for a year.
Right.
Hopefully more, but you have him for a year. So let's say they have 40 million. What do they really need with the 40 million? Godfather's not here, but they 100% need a closer.
Yeah, they need
somebody that can help Porter Hodge be the closer.
Yeah, they need a couple relievers. They need a starting pitcher,
and they still need a bat.
I think you.
But I don't know that the bat. Yeah. I don't think the bat is coming. I think if you're going to take that 40 million and spend it, please, first of all, spend it. Don't pocket the cash.
Yeah.
Now
I think they are, because as soon as they got that money, as soon as they made the Bellinger trade, Morosi tweeted, I think it was either later that day, so 2 days ago, or yesterday, that the Cubs are interested in multiple relievers. I think, didn't he mention like Kirby Yates?
Yeah, we talked about him a couple days ago. So
it's not a surprise that they're out
like
there in
30
the
saves
market.
last year, 35 saves from the Rangers.
Yeah, I think anyone who thought that they were just going to pocket this money, I understand the concern and the question of it, and they absolutely deserve to be held accountable if they were not to use this money. But considering the situation and what they've already done, I think you're probably overreacting if you didn't think they're going to use this money for something. So, I've always thought they're going to use this money in the reliever market personally. So Kirby Yates, maybe a little Kyle Finnegan, Tanner Scott maybe.
If I had to ask you guys to rank the order of needs for the Cubs right now, how would you do that?
I think for this team right now,
closer or starter has to be 1-2.
You got to pick one.
Yeah, I would say number one, bullpen. I won't even say closer. I'm just saying bullpen. I would go bullpen first because they have decent depth at starting pitcher, and they could get by if they didn't. I don't know if it would hurt them more than not addressing the bullpen first, but I would go bullpen, starting pitcher, and then I guess I just want more clarity on what's going on at third base. Are we keeping Nico Horner? Those trade talks have died, but who knows? He has been in trade talks most of the offseason. So if they're keeping Nico Horner, then I'm leaning to believe that Matt Shaw is going to be at third base, and maybe they pick up a veteran that can help, that he can, split time with, or that can help him grow into that position, something like that. That's what I don't know if that's what I want, but it's a possibility. But
Steven, are you asking about what's most important, or how the allocation of funds, right? Like, where should, of the 40 million, where should they focus the most of that money? Should you break it down 20-20 and forget about the hitter or another infielder that they might need at third base? I see everybody in the live YouTube chat, for the most part, bullpen for sure. Closer's number one. They need a closer, right? And I know that that's what a lot of people would say. I don't disagree with it. This is just another way to look at it is also this. If you were to put, and I can't say this is right, if I knew what I was talking about, I'd be the GM. I'm not. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. If you were to spend more money on a legit starter, or whatever you want to say, money and or prospect capital, like, for instance, if they're trading Triantos to get Luzardo, okay?
Even though those talks are dead now.
Even though those are allegedly dead. We'll get to that in a second. But let's just say it's another starter that's out there. Now, it's not going to be Dylan Cease. Forget that dream. Cease is not coming back. If you were to invest it more in a quality starter, somebody that can really impact your rotation, there is a trickle-down effect and not the other way. not as much as there is the other way around. For instance, if they go ahead and spend a lot of money on a closer, I think closers are more volatile than starters are. That's a philosophy that the Cubs have had, period. They don't ever sign a closer.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly ever, right? It's been a problem for a long time. Since 2016, closer's been a little if 2017, closer's been a problem. It's harder to go that way. If you sign a starter, let's just call it Luzardo, or trade for a starter, Luzardo. It allows some guys that are swing players right now that you're not sure about what they can do. It allows those players to potentially become the pieces in the bullpen.
Sure.
There's more certainty in a starting rotation than there is in a bullpen. Okay? So who am I talking about? If healthy, I'm talking about Ben Brown. I'm talking about Assad. I'm talking about
Cade Horton.
Like, if your rotation's good enough, Cade Horton might be able to be eased into the Cubs. Just like, who's the guy the Sox just traded away that I'm blowing my mind?
Garrett Crochet.
Garrett Crochet was used as a Kopech, right? Like, kind of eased in as a reliever. Steele kind of started as a reliever a little bit. So potentially there's another way to use some of those guys and also strengthen your bullpen without just blowing money on what is the most volatile part of a baseball team. I'm not saying don't fix the bullpen. I'm just saying there's multiple ways to try and fix it. If you fix the rotation even more, some of the guys that might want to be starters this year could be swing guys or also could, for a year, be very important pieces to the bullpen. I'm not convinced one way or another, but I think there's a possibility that Ben Brown could still end up being your closer.
Yeah. As I've said many times, that I think best case scenario, a player that you groom, that you develop, I think is the best case scenario for your closer. That said, I'm not backing down on adding veteran stability to the bullpen.
Mm-hmm.
So Kyle Finnegan is a name that I think is a possibility. You know,
wouldn't take all of your $40 million.
Right. Like there's names out there. I do like Kirby Yates. At least he has like recent success. 33 saves last year, but he's 37. So it's not like you're gonna have to give him a 5-year deal. I think it's realistic. All right. But if you sign a guy like Kirby Yates, he's probably going to be your closer on opening day.
One of those guys basically fills the role that Neris was signed for last year.
Yeah.
That's it. Like,
but I think
who's your new Neris? Now, Neris wasn't enough, so I would say you might want to consider two of those guys. But if you can go get a starter and a Kirby Yates or a starter and a Finnegan, now at least some of those other guys that hopefully are going to be healthy can start to fill some of those bullpen roles.
I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth with how you use the money, but I think you have a lot of young talent that potentially could be better than what we all think in the bullpen. You had guys emerge last year. Jed made some really good in-season moves, bringing in Tyson Miller and Jorge Lopez. I wouldn't be mad if they brought back Jorge Lopez to be exactly what he was last year, which was like a middle to late inning reliever. I know he's had some injury problems. He got hurt at the end of last year too. Like, how did they feel about that? That's something that I don't know. But it's really young. I feel like they need like just some better. Maybe Neris was that. And remember, when they signed Neris, they signed him to be a late inning reliever, not the closer. Right? We all thought ALLCITY could potentially be the guy, or at least be the guy until the trade deadline of last year. That's what we thought. I think at least with Porter Hodge, Ben Brown, I've always been high on Luke Little, as many people in this chat know. If he's healthy.
Little,
like there's some guys in that Nate Pearson, there's some guys that I think have a lot of potential to be in the back end of that bullpen and help this team close out games. But obviously we don't know. Obviously there's a lot of hoping and wishing with this conversation. So, again, veteran stability, some, a guy that maybe you start the season with, but maybe another guy emerges if he struggles. And I think there's better options down the road. Merriweather will be back next year. can he stay healthy? 2 years ago, he proved that he could be a back end of the bullpen guy. But,
high-end Merriweather, high-end Pearson, high-end Little, all of a sudden you're looking at the bullpen and saying, well, it could be a strength. Here's my thing on bullpens. Don't expect the bullpen to be a strength all season long.
Right.
It very rarely happens for teams. Like, I want it to be more often than not a strength. Yeah. I don't want half of the season for it to be a disaster and the other half for it to be a success. You know what I'm saying?
Like, it can't be hot and cold.
No, I don't want ice
to be
cold.
Consistent.
I would like
some consistency,
less peaks and valleys, and more of just a steady roll through the season.
I
want to not talk about the bullpen. Too. That's what I want to do.
Jack Neely is another name too, the guy that they got back in the Mark Leiter Jr. trade. We saw him come up last year at the end of in September, I believe, and he flashes decent stuff.
Is that the giant tall guy?
Yeah, with the stash.
Right, and I always think it's Jack Haley from the Bulls. I can't get the two straight in my mind, and that was Dennis Rodman.
So they have a lot of names. I think the depth is there, but a lot of it is question. But I think a lot of teams go through this too. Like I truly believe a lot of the best teams in the league, a lot of them are really good at developing their own bullpen because they're not investing a lot of money in their bullpen. So sure, maybe only one more. I mean, it's not like they haven't picked up any relievers. They picked up Eli Morgan. You picked up Rob Z, which, who knows. But we know how this pitching infrastructure is set up, and it has brought a lot of success with a bunch of guys that we didn't expect a lot from. Now you actually have some real talent in here that you've developed that came up last year and showed progress. It's not like going into last season we had a guy like Porter Hodge that we felt like, oh, yeah, this guy – you can slot him in the 8th inning and feel good. We saw a lot from Porter Hodge last year, and whatever role he's in next season with the Cubs, I feel pretty confident that he can go out there and give you a shutdown inning. I do. It's just 1 year, but he's young. He's got great stuff. And as we've said, bullpens are volatile, but it's not like he's old or anything like that. I think there's reason. I think there's reason for optimism that's not delusional. I think that there's plenty of confidence I think fans should have about Porter Hodge going in next year. And same thing with a few other guys too, like Nate Pearson. Nate Pearson was awesome in the second half of last season as a reliever that the Cubs picked up at the trade deadline, who was a former top 10 prospect in all of baseball. They moved him in the bullpen. He had some success. Can he have that continued success next year? I think if he's in the bullpen, sure. He has great stuff. I like the possibilities with him. So
I agree with Gary Ross, and I don't say that lightly. Gary's saying, yeah, Hodge is probably the setup guy and the backup closer. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that, and I'd be fine with that role flipping halfway through the season if it ends up being that way. Or I'd be fine with Hodge staying that way and Ben Brown becoming that guy and leapfrogging him. I just want guys that can get outs under pressure at the back end of my bullpen. That's what I'm looking for. And
they certainly have more velocity in the bullpen than they have ever had it since we've been doing this show. Right.
And by the way, if we've learned anything the last couple years, it's that if the Cubs people that want to just say Hodge is the closer, I'm good with that. He's friend of the show. We love Porter Hodge. You can't say a bad thing about what he did last season. He was great. He was a rookie. And just because a rookie had a good season doesn't mean he's going to have the same season the next year.
That's fair, too.
And that's true of any player. So I'm not saying that to doubt him. I'm just saying if you're the Cubs, if you're Jed Hoyer, you better have faith in Porter Hodge, but not blind faith. Because young players go through the ups and downs, even if it was a half a season that was great. So just like PCA went through some ups and downs, just because PCA was great at the end of last year doesn't mean he's going to start this year hitting 300 and doing everything that he did at the end of last year. There will be peaks and valleys for these guys throughout the year. That's why you got to have additional arms. Mm-hmm. That's why you better have a bunch of backup plans. Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I would think that as much as I've said the offense, and I know I'm contradicting myself here, and I'm flipping like a bass on a pier, but To me, the biggest problem for this team going into the offseason was the offense.
I agree with you on that. But they've added.
They have substituted Tucker for Bellinger.
Substituted.
Pretty much. There hasn't been a ton of stuff done to the offense. Like the offense,
well, you're saying
Tucker sort of takes the Bellinger role.
Okay.
Not like financially, not equally. I'm just saying you've removed Bellinger from the offense, a left-handed bat, and you've added Tucker to it. Is Tucker a better bat than Bellinger? Yes.
Okay. Thank you for acknowledging that.
How much better is he? I don't know if that's enough of a gap. I think Tucker's considerably better. But is it enough of a gap and difference to get the offense where it needs to go? Or are they counting on the other things to all bounce back? The wind to blow out, yada, yada, yada. Like, well, so-and-so to hit. Not only that, they removed Paredes and Bellinger to put Tucker in. So I still think there is a problem with the offense, personally.
Sure.
But I know there is also a problem with the pitching staff. So,
well, I'll say this. Kyle Tucker probably close to 3 wins above replacement better than Cody Bellinger in just 80 games last year.
Vegas believes it.
Basically.
Even Vegas believes it.
Yeah.
So would you take your money and go 15-15-10? Like, do you want to see them sorted out that way, or would you like to see them go heavy? I don't think Pete Alonso's the answer. I don't know where they're going to find.
That's surprising. I know you're a big Pete Alonso guy. Me and you have argued.
I'm fine with it. I just don't know where he plays on this team.
Well, yeah. Now, like, I always thought Pete Alonso might have been
he's DH.
Realistic. I thought he would have been realistic if they traded Seiya.
He's not a great first baseman. Bush would still be at first base. Seiya's your DH.
Yeah. Objectively,
and so I don't know where Pete Alonso goes.
Objectively, Michael Bush was better than Pete Alonso last year, except for outside the home run stat. But as an overall player, Michael Bush was better. He's also younger. And if you care about money, which I'm sure none of you do, like, he is cheaper, but based off how the Cubs have been operating over the course of the last 5 years, it's probably a good thing that you have Michael Bush instead of Pete Alonso. The only way that I could see Pete Alonso on this team is if Seiya Suzuki is traded.
Oh, that's what Niren says. He thinks it's Wild Thought Wednesday. We skipped the Wednesday show. He says Mike Trout for DH. Seiya trade.
Dude, if Mike Trout became available, that'd be a wild.
That $40 million wouldn't be $40 million anymore. It'd be like -10.
That's right.
It'd be like.
Well, you'd be able to take Seiya's off there, but still.
It'd be a wild emergency podcast. I feel like the reactions would be so wildly different if that actually happened.
David Snyder says, Luke, the answer is Tucker is not enough on the hitting side. PCA, Shaw, Bush, all have to become Major League Baseball solid hitters, with Suzuki having his best year. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well, Zips thinks that they will.
Too far. It isn't that different from last year when we said bringing Bellinger back is so necessary, but it's not enough, because it's just bringing back a guy that was already on a team that didn't have enough offense in 183 games. Kyle Tucker is definitely better than Cody Bellinger. Is he definitely better than high-ceiling Paredes bounces back and hits some home runs at third, subtracting whatever you might get from Shaw? I don't know. Like, those are the calculations I don't know. In my heart, I don't think they have enough offense. And I also think they don't have enough arms yet.
No, they're not. They're not done. This team is not a finished product. There's no way.
But I can't, I've flipped on this show. I can't decide if I want the money to go to offense or to arms. I really can't.
Well,
I guess just divvy it up and give me mid.
No.
No, we've had that for 2 years. Don't do it.
Listen, I think through talking it out, it sounds like maybe starting pitcher might be the most that would be the most that I feel like is important here.
I do too.
Because this rotation, if we're like we have said, if we're going to blame weather conditions at Wrigley Field on the offense, or at least use
regression.
At least if we're going to acknowledge that it didn't help the offense, then we have to expect regression in the negative for the pitching next year. And that's nothing against Imanaga, Steele, or Tyone, or Matthew Boyd, but they certainly could use another starter, whether it's Roki Sasaki, whether it's someone out there, Walker Buehler, Jack Flaherty. All I'm saying is you add another starter, it allows you to move a guy like an Assad,
right,
Ben Brown, potentially Cade Horton, to be really solid, potential really good solid contributors into your bullpen, which I'm up for.
Somebody's got to become Wesneski.
So maybe using that money, like if what we're talking about $40 million here, use most of that money on a starting pitcher, great. So we'll see who the Cubs are going to be on. I wasn't like all in on Jesus Luzardo, but I thought, he brought a different look to your rotation, and that's why I liked him. And he's young.
Maybe the medicals,
but they're dead now.
Yeah,
so who are they moving to next?
Is it dead because the medicals on Luzardo weren't as good as you hoped they were?
Perhaps.
I don't know.
That's what Gary Passon's telling us in the chat.
Or is it dead because they still want Casey instead of Triantos?
That could be too.
That's also possible. Or it could be a combo of both. But right now, the Luzardo thing is from reportedly not as close as it was 48 hours ago.
Right. So I'm interested to see if they shift back to Seattle.
Sure. If the medicals, if it is the medicals, then if it's either one of those, I'm okay with that response.
Right. And as far as the offense, listen, if Nico Horner is going to be here, which I'm open to, I think Matt Shaw is your third baseman. And he's a rookie, but he's your top prospect in the organization. So will there be ups and downs? Absolutely. But if you bolster your starting rotation and you add a reliever, I'm willing to ride that because I think the upside with Matt Shaw is certainly better than a lot of guys that they've just thrown there that are veterans, Patrick Wisdom types, Jonathan VR, sorry, Brendan, and any other random veteran that they have put there, all right? I'd rather go with Shaw at third than Yoan Moncada even, because we gotta find out. We gotta find out.
Steven's ears peaked on that one.
As a Sox fan, stay the hell away from Yoan Moncada. Don't do that.
So
somebody will make that mistake. I don't think it's going to be the Cubs.
Is it a risk? Absolutely, but it's not like you're rolling out a bad player in terms of projection or upside. Matt Shaw is your first round pick. Clearly, the organization thinks he can be a really good contributor for you for years. So, it's kind of like when people were talking about, would you have traded Casey for Tucker? I mean, I guess 1 year you got the extension, all this, and it didn't end up happening. It was Cam Smith, but like either you got to move guys to upgrade a position or you got to spend some money. And I think at this point, after talking it out, it sounds like maybe utilizing most of that money for a starting pitcher. Maybe a little bit of the rest on a reliever will be the better route, because at the end of the day you still gotta find a place for Matt Shaw to play. I am open to him being super utility as well, though. If they go that route and maybe they do bring in a guy like Yoan Moncada to play third or someone else I'm not thinking
Don't do it.
I'm going
Here's
through
what
all
I
the
think
scenarios
Here's
here
what I think's
out
not
loud.
happening. This is just an opinion. I don't think Jed Hoyer came out in a press conference and specifically said we're going to give Shaw a good look at third base and he's going to have to earn it, yada, yada, yada. And Counsell kind of has been saying the same stuff. You're not saying that about one of your top prospects or your top prospect and then going out and getting Bregman and then going to that prospect like, hey, never mind about what we said publicly. That's not happening.
Right.
Okay? So if you're dreaming about Arenado or Bregman or something like that, I would say no. I think right now, Shaw is option number one at third base. And will they have backup plans? Yes, they're going to have one, whether that's Masterboni or Moncada or whoever you want to put, Rojas.
Yeah.
Whoever you want
Josh
those backup
Rojas.
plans to be at third base, those are the backup plans. Option number one is Matt Shaw plays well in spring training and he gets the job and he doesn't let go of it. That's what I would assume option number one is. Carl with a super chat, $2 said, sign Bauer. Thanks for the super chat. We appreciate that.
It's gonna be
I don't know.
Dog.
Listen,
That's a no
for those of you that were asking, yes, Corey and Brendan will have a podcast tomorrow. All the changes that happened yesterday, Corey and Brendan will still be here. They're still doing their podcast tomorrow. All you loyal followers of Corey and Brendan are still going to get great Corey and Brendan. You're still going to get the heat maps, all of that stuff. It's all going to be there for you. We will be back on Monday Cody and I will be back on Monday for a podcast at 11:30.
And we didn't talk about the Zips projection, so.
Well, because I don't understand them. So everybody else, do
Maybe
your
Corey
research
and
on the
Brennan will
Zips.
do it.
I don't know exactly what it is, but we appreciate it. We appreciate everybody that we mentioned at the top of this show. Nicholas, Ryan, everybody, Law. We can't do it without you. We appreciate you, and we appreciate everybody in the chat. Thanks for watching. Fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.